And after hours live because why not? Okay, let's see. Okay, after hours live because why not? Yeah, that's why not. Okay, there's just so much going on. There's just so much going on. Oh my god. Okay. Let me get these articles up. It's like so late. Okay. Whew. So much. So much. So much. So much. Let's go. Let's go. I should like have some type of music or something. Like I need like some type of music while I'm starting. Let's see. We have sound effects. Those are just the regular audio controls. Let me see. I don't know. I'll have to work on all that stuff. Let me get all these articles up. I've like so much stuff every day. There's just so much BS every single day that it's like, how do you even keep track? How does one even keep track? Oh, here we go. Hey, okay. So we're going to get into some of these articles. I'm just picking them up because there's quite a few lovely things happening in the world today that are no, they left. Okay. That are where's the comments? Okay. Hey. Pine Creek politics. Okay. Let me get these articles together because yes, there is a lot happening. I think I'm going to do this as like a regular series every week because I feel like this week in propaganda, just analyzing what took place this week so we can see what's going to happen next week, what could come up, how are they pushing certain storylines ahead, like what's going on. I think let's get out of here, my face. I think that's really important to do because if you're just looking at things just, oh, what's happening? And it just seems like new, disjointed. It's hard to keep track. So I think this week in propaganda, I think is going to be a really good summary of what's happening so we can analyze it. How does it connect to other things? And how do we keep moving forward? Okay. So let me, my face. Okay. So let me get the first article up because this is what really drove me. I was like, I have to do a live, even though it's a bit late. It's a bit after hours live, but that's okay. And but I saw this CNN article talking about Target and why obviously it's not a boycott that's causing Target stock to be downgraded. Like obviously not. Oh my god, so much cat hair everywhere. It's because millennials, and students having to pay back their student loans or some weird ridiculousness. So let me pull up the article because they do a really good job of weaving the storyline. Let me see. And then also, did you see that there was a story related to narcissistic people being drawn to left-wing authoritarianism? How strange. How bizarre. I would have never thought these people are just psychopaths. Okay, let me pull it up. Because honestly, how could it be? How could it be that all these things somehow are falling into place? But let me pull this article up. Mr. Target. Now, I think that it's really smart for them to throw out this like storyline that somehow Target is not actually suffering from the boycott, because obviously, why would they want to validate the idea that people can choose to support companies that or not support companies that don't fall in line with their politics? Okay, where did it go? This is the most confusing part. I'm gonna have to edit the heck out of this video. Okay. Ooh, Walmart and Costco stock increased in the past 5 days. Target's down. Now, let's look at the article that CNN posted, because I think it's really telling how, thanks so much for that comment. I think it's really telling how they actually formed this, because their argument has to be based in some type of logic and reason, and it has to be, let's see, justified, because obviously they can't reinforce this. So here we go. Target. So here's the real reason Target stock has gone down. It's Target stock. Okay. Here's the real reason Target's stock is dropping. So good. So good. So, they're just going to give, obviously, Target has been downgraded. Their stock has been downgraded because of all of the losses in the last couple weeks. Target stock has lost about a fifth of its value over the past 2.5 weeks. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's not about what you may have heard. It's not. There's no correlation. If you follow right-wing media on Twitter, you may have seen a lot of coverage recently about Target's stock price dropping because of outrage over Pride Month clothing. Yeah. This is all, I mean, I'm just so glad. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm just so glad CNN can come and step in and make sure we're aware that our actions are meaningless, and that, conservative people and all of these right-wing extremists have no impact on businesses at all. So it's great. Like, let's just keep going with whatever we're doing, right? Okay. So they first start. So here they go through the article, and they cite that retail stocks are sinking broadly. So they have to build the story, the narrative that just everybody's suffering right now. It's just all going bad. It's just all going down. It's just it's the economy. It's all of these things. Like that's what's happening. It's just the economy, and that's why it's going down. It's not a big deal. So let's look at the number. Yeah, it's magical. Exactly. That's obviously the point. More like outrage over them sexualizing children, obviously. So they start the story off citing that Foot Locker has lost 40% since its reported earnings last month, and Children's Place dropped 39%. So, Miss Magical, I know. This is why I was like, I have to do a weekly propaganda this week in propaganda, because it's just like it comes up so much and we have to really look at it and analyze it, because this is ridiculous. The way they're trying to cope that they're trying to go forward with, because you have to remember Budweiser, they're still not doing so well. Okay. They're still not bouncing back. So after the whole, he who shall not be named incident for Women's Month, or what was it for March Madness? Yeah. The special beer can. So the whole Bud Light boycott, obviously, Budweiser, sorry. Boycott obviously was a huge impact. One of the biggest things that happened in culture recently. And now Target is suffering because obviously they decided they wanted to have tuck-friendly bathing suits for people, minors. They wanted all of this pride memorabilia for minors. They needed to really push it for the minor section. Now, adult section, okay, what's going on? Like, we're not noticing. It's just whatever. But the obsession with like the baby pride stuff, and yeah, it's a little bit too much. So obviously it spurred the boycott. But now CNN is stepping in to tell us that it's just, stocks broadly are, declining. Foot Locker has lost 40%, and, Children's Place has gone down. So as we keep going to see their beautiful narrative, now let's look at this one in comparison. So let's see. So now, since Target reported earnings on May 17th, its stock dropped 19% through Thursday's close. Now, during that stretch, the S&P 500 retail index dropped 7%. So it's dropping, okay? Target's peers such as Walmart, Macy's, and Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and others fell during that stretch as well. It's just they fell. It's just the stocks, they're falling. What's the big deal? I don't understand. Like, this should be logical, right? We should understand this should be logical. It's just the stocks are falling. CNN is letting us know that our, cultural outrage is not actually doing anything. The boycott's not really, taking effect. And they're weaving the story to paint that picture, to help justify it, to help communicate that, to help breed that. That's the propaganda they're creating. So let's look at this too, because I highlighted this because look, you notice how with Foot Locker, they actually put the percentage. It's lost 40%, okay? And then over here, they list the S&P 500. They list, thanks. Yes, this is what we have to do. We have to expose it because we have to be incredibly aware of how they do it and how they manipulate us, because they're coming at us with so much. They're experts at it. So we have to look at this stuff. So if we see 40%, 7%, and then they move 19%, 7%, and then down here with Walmart and Macy's, Dollar General, there's no percentage listed. Do you see that? There's no percentage listed. So these numbers are going to carry over in your mind. You're going to carry that 40%, 19.7. You're going to carry those numbers over to relate them loosely. Let's just say, at least, you're going to carry those numbers over to apply them somehow to Walmart and Macy's and Dollar General. Even if they're not even where close, even if, as Pine Creek Politics mentioned, Walmart and Costco stock apparently has increased in the past 5 days. You're going to carry this over. And that's really key. That's very sneaky. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very sneaky. And this is why we have to pay very, very close attention to what they're doing, because it's very sneaky. It's very manipulative. It's very covert. They utilize our inherent biases, how we process actual information, how we process information, because our brain is constantly, jumping ahead. Let me move these articles. Our brain is constantly jumping ahead, connecting the dots, filling in the blanks, making assumptions, going off of what we saw in the past, what's the future, all these things. Our brain is constantly trying to put together a picture of reality. And when we read something like this, we don't know that, subconsciously, we're probably going to carry these numbers over and think that somehow they apply to this Walmart and Macy's and Dollar General that don't have boycotts right now. There's no boycott against Walmart. There's no boycott against Macy's, and there's no boycott against Dollar General or Dollar Tree. Okay. They know that we'll subconsciously just carry those numbers over, and that will justify what their claims are, even though they can get away with saying, oh, we didn't actually say anything that's not true. Like, they're not lying. Maybe, at the time that they're creating this, maybe, it was down, or however they're going with this story and the data and what time they're doing it, how often they're updating. But whatever it is, that way they're getting away with they're not lying. They're just omitting the truth and utilizing our biases. And it's really clever, and it happens all the time. All the time. So we have to pay very, very, very close attention to what we're reading and how we're interpreting things. So the culprit for all these stock drops is not clothing for LGBT consumers, because obviously that's what the boycott's about. Let me close those. So much screens. Okay. So the culprit for all these stocks drops is not clothing for LGBT consumers and allies. Yeah, allies, said Berna Barshe, a veteran research and investment analyst. Okay, another key point. They're citing an expert. This is an authority. They're a veteran. They've seen this. What do we think about veterans? What is the word? They could say this. They could have explained this in a myriad of different ways, but they use the word veteran. Okay? Now, I know this seems like overly critical or like nitpicky or anything like that, but you have to understand, when you're dealing with propaganda, every single word counts. Every little sentence structure counts. Everything counts in order to weave this perception and to get people to believe a potentially false narrative. So the veterans, what are veterans? They're conservative. They're, trustworthy. They're older. They know what they're talking about. They have experience. So this veteran is saying this. It's general retail and consumer jitters. Retail is just very out of favor right now, so all the stocks in the sector are overcorrecting. Oh, how great. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, thanks for looking this up. Pine Creek looked up the numbers. I just looked it up for the past 1 month. Walmart is down 1.8% and Target is down 16.5%. But over the past 5 days, Walmart is up 1.7% and Target is down 4.2%. So there we go. It's just overcorrecting. So they're working really hard. They're working really hard to dismiss, to rationalize, to analyze, and dismiss. So they're not going to tell you, oh, it's not true, whatever, and just keep moving. They have to create a story. They have to justify it. They have to push you to not believe what you're seeing. If you're seeing on Twitter, if you're seeing, people that if you're seeing in lots of different media outlets that there's a boycott happening, Target's being downgraded, its stock's going down, people on Twitter are saying it, people in your real life, potentially people on the news are saying it, and it's confirmed because their stock was downgraded, they need you to believe that what you see, all the evidence you see in reality, that's not it. It's actually this. It's actually, it's just millennials don't want to go shopping right now. Like, it's clever how they do it. Okay. Shoppers, particularly Target's primary shopping base of middle-income households, has been pinched by rising costs, inflation, all these things. More than half of Target's merchandise is discretionary: clothing, home decor, electronics, toys, party supplies, and other non-essentials. Shoppers have shifted away. Like, it just so happens they shifted away. They're not trying to spend on discretionary goods. And, they just want to spend more on food and things like that. And these changes are hurting Target. Now, it's true that Walmart does have more of stability because of the fact that a lot of people buy their groceries from Walmart. And so that way they have like a little bit of boost from that. But overall, Target, I don't know. Okay, Target sales inched up just 0.5% last quarter. Target said sales of clothing, home goods, and other discretionary categories dropped. JP Morgan, which downgraded Target stock Thursday, said in a report that we continue to believe that the consumer is broadly weakening while the share of wallet shift away from goods is ongoing. JP Morgan did not include a word about consumer backlash to Target's Pride Month collection. So, JP Morgan didn't acknowledge the boycotts, so obviously it's not happening. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Soren says that's straight up gaslighting. Exactly. This whole CNN article is straight up gaslighting. That is the point. CNN does a really good job with their opinion pieces and their everything. So reality versus myth. So this is so the format you see, they're giving you the title. They're telling you, just summarizing it really quick, what's happening. Here's what's really happening. It's not because of this, it's because of that. And now they're going through each section trying to justify it. They give you the evidence of why it's not happening. Now they're going to explain this myth and how that myth is not real and what you're thinking is not happening. Yes. So myth versus reality versus myth. Yet right-wing outlets and personalities repeatedly claimed that Target's decline was due to backlash over Pride Month clothing. Target shares hit 3-year low as Pride backlash hits bottom line, a Fox News headline said Friday. Where's the lie? It is the 3-year low. Okay. So apparently they're trying to, give the justification of why this is not real. They're just talking. Fox News aired more than 2 hours of coverage on Target's Pride Month displays from May 23rd to May 30th, according to Media Matters, a liberal media monitoring group. Target faced a homophobic campaign that went viral on social media because, again, you're obviously homophobic. You can't just say that you don't think that they should be selling like bathing suits for little boys so they can tuck, potentially. That's not wanting that is it's obviously racist. It's obviously homophobic. Sorry. Oh yeah, Soren already called it out, calling Matt Walsh a theocratic fascist. He literally put that as a joke because they called him that at first. I know, so funny. But they're actually using this. They're actually trying to pretend that this is real. Of course Anyway, let's go. So it went viral because it's homophobic to not want Pride stuff for kids. Went viral on social media after its annual Pride Month clothing collection, fueled by far-right personalities, including self-described theocratic fascist Matt Walsh. Oh my God, I can't believe it. They just have no shame. These right-wing extremists, like, literally have no shame. Obviously, they just have no shame. Even though, as Soren pointed out, he said that as a joke. The gay versus straight war is crazy. I know, it's super crazy. It's super crazy. The globalists, what is it? I guess the best way to call them globalists, the leftists, the communists, the neo-communists, they'll use any outlet, any channel they can to push their agenda. It just so happens now they're using the LGBT community. So Matt Walsh, the anti-LGBTQ campaign spread misleading information about the Pride Month products and Target's business practices. The campaign became hostile, with violent threats leveled against Target employees and instances of damaged products and displays in stores. Target said on May 24th it was removing certain items that caused most violent reaction from opponents to protect its worker safety. You see how Target did that? You see how the leftists do that? Do you see how they do it? They take everything and they turn themselves into the victim. Oh, we're just the victim. These people are just, they're coming after us with their homophobic rants. And we're just, we had to take it down. We didn't take it down, and they do a better job than the Budweiser, because Target was like, oh, we have to take it down because yeah, it's for safety. It's for safety. We're so afraid people are gonna like hurt us. Yeah, so they turned themselves into the victim. They flipped it. Soren says, let's see. Oh, here we go. Well, it's not even a war. Nobody cares if someone is gay or straight unless you're an activist, in which case you're the loud minority that does. Yeah, good point. Plenty of gay people are right-leaning, 100%. Because they're never going to be genuine about why there's this apparent, homophobic, just anti-misinformation, bigotry, whatever. They're not going to be genuine about why people are upset about the Pride Month thing and certain things being taught in curriculums, certain things being pushed to children. Because, again, it's sexuality. It's based in sex, because that's what the whole thing is. It's about being your sexuality. They don't want that pushed to kids. Like, that's the whole thing. And they never, ever, ever going to say that that's the reason. They're going to pick a lot of different things. Like, it's blanket. They just hate. No, they just don't want you pushing stuff to kids. Duh. It's not that complicated to like figure it out. But if they address that, then people might ask, why are they pushing this to children right now? Why are they talking about this to kids? Like, why is that necessary? Then there's more of a conversation. They have to dead it. They have to just quickly say, this is bigoted. These people are bigoted. They're homophobic, and just dead it. So that's a really good way that they flipped the whole narrative. They're the victims. They're the ones being hurt. They're the ones being targeted unjustly. It's not fair. Okay. So, next one. Let's see how they close this out. That's the same highlights. Okay. Yeah, we'll just end it with that. So, they're the ones calling it out, and they have to push it this way. I wonder if queer activists support everyone in the queer community, like gays who voted for Trump. Yeah, I don't think so. Something tells me they're not all peace and love in that way. Something tells me they're not okay with that, because I've seen many people talk about, being conservative and how they were just treated horribly by, the progressives or the liberal, and the LGBT community in general because they are conservative. They're Republican. They care about not just going off the rails and throwing the Constitution out. You know that what's funny, YouTube is like the new Fox with it mostly being right, and TikTok is the new CNN with it mostly being left people. Yeah, honestly, I feel like YouTube's pretty liberal. Like they're pretty heavy-handed with the censorship. They're pretty heavy-handed with it. Like honestly, that's what I've seen. So I'm not gonna. I think because the algorithm sort of like lets you stay in what you want to see, what you're interested in, but I feel like they're pretty heavy-handed. So, okay. So yeah, that is just an example of how CNN does a really good job at it. An example of how they paint a narrative. They find a lot of evidence, they justify their premise, and they need to structure in a way. They're never going to just come outright and say, oh, this is that and that is that. Generally, they have to build a storyline. They have to create an argument that looks at different angles and really pretends that it's analyzing things and looking at actual factual data. So, oh, yeah. Let's see. YouTube is very left-leaning. The only problem is that demographic mostly watches YouTube is men, and men are mostly right-leaning. This is why most content creators here have to dance. Yeah, like I definitely have to dance around, which is why anyone watching this, I definitely recommend coming to my checking out my locals. And I just published a video actually on why everything is white supremacy. And I think it's a pretty interesting take because it's sort of an analysis from a propagandist perspective. So yeah, I like locals in that way. Let's see. Maybe that's I like to look at both sides of the coin. And honestly, Miss Magical, that's really important to do. You have to look at both sides of the coin because you have to get, both sides have their biases, they have their perspective. And if you want to be a well-informed person and understand society and why people are thinking this way and what's motivating people to believe and perceive certain things, you have to look at both sides of the coin. It's just you have to be able to analyze. You have to become fluent in propaganda to be able to analyze things and move through collecting data and building your conclusion, not just reacting like most people do, because that's what they do. They just get emotional. And her locals is pretty great. Oh, thanks so much. I know. Thank you so much. You guys are so nice. So nice. But yeah, I really feel like we have to explore things. We have to understand, not just because, it's just good to always, look both sides of the street when you're crossing, look at both media outlets, what they're saying and how they're painting the narrative, not just for general information and awareness, but also because that way you can connect better with people. You can understand what's motivating them. So when you're actually talking with people, because I hope all of you are talking to people, trying to come together, cut through the propaganda, help people realize what's really going on in society. You cannot talk to people, you can't communicate with people if you don't have a baseline understanding of who they are and what's motivating them. Like sometimes I'll talk to a leftist and I'll just be like, well, actually, I don't ever do that. But sometimes I'll talk to someone who's left-leaning and just the things that are important to them, I'm just like, what? When did this happen? Like, I've known you for a while. When did you care about this or that? That happens all the time. Okay. So let's move on to, my God. So yeah, let's move on to Little Mermaid because I thought this was really, really interesting how they were shifting. The Little Mermaid, the Black Little Mermaid is something people are very upset about. They've been very upset about it for a while. Where did it go? Okay, here it is. The narrative the left is pushing is that gender dysphoria kids need to be trans or they will unalive themselves is crazy to me. I know it's the most sensationalist, over the top, just it's so sad. It's like, what are we doing? Like, really, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Okay, so recently, IMDB had to change its rating systems for its, like, you know, rating for movies. You know, they have the stars, and then there's Rotten Tomatoes. I think they have their own rating system, and that one's pretty sus as well. But IMDb recently had to come out and say that they are changing their rating system because, you know, people are just so racist and just going after The Little Mermaid. It's so unfair. Now, I personally haven't seen the movie, so I'm not going to judge it without seeing it. But to me personally, I feel like it's unnecessary to change the character because why? They didn't need to change any of the other characters. Like, why now? Like, why all of a sudden? Why the diversity hire? You know, I feel like it should totally be who's the best person for the character, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, we know who Ariel is, and I'm such a huge Little Mermaid fan. Like, that is my favorite Disney movie, hands down. It's so intriguing. It's so amazing. It's so romantic. The fact that it was created in, it was like 1989, I think it came out. Which was it? Or the 1984? But it's just so amazing. There's nothing like, you don't have movies like that anymore. You don't have that rawness, that emotional depth. So remaking the live remake, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna be okay. I don't know if it's gonna be good. And then on top of that, you change the character and you give her dreadlocks. I'm like, oh god. She's like, it's not Ariel. But okay. Oh, let's digress for a second because Pine Creek Politics made a good point. Did you know we don't have actual data on suicides for trans people in the U.S.? It's always been about ideation or attempts or higher risk. Yeah, that's something. I have to pull up the article for that because that's a really that totally breaks their whole like their storyline. I mean, that's a really key thing. And I just saw that article today, but I don't have it right now. Yeah, the original Mermaid came out in 1989 after a Dutch folktale. Simple says, I was told by my little cousins who can care less about political agendas, just said the movie was boring. I mean, they made it. I haven't seen it again, but I hear they made it like the song had to be changed to make it be about consent and not just kissing the girl, and just, I don't know, the graphics, the lighting, it's very dry, very washed out looking. And honestly, I heard that like this strategy, because a lot of these movies, their main selling points, if you notice, okay, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit to the history of filmmaking because obviously I love propaganda, I love films, they go hand in hand. But if you notice how films have like downgraded since the 90s, since the early 2000s, it's just the stories just went downhill. Okay. And that's because they really, really want to sell to the global market. And the global market, guess what? They don't all speak English and they don't all like understand complex storylines. Since this is their second language, they're not they don't speak the language. So how are they going to enjoy a movie if it's going to have a really complex storyline, a lot of depth, emotional, like all this subtle nuance and all these things? So they took that out of a lot of movies. Like that's why you see these Marvel movies doing really well. That's why you see these movies being very one-dimensional, because they need to sell to the global markets, especially China. Big market. And yeah. Here we go. So I can't see how a movie like this is gonna be, especially with the little wokeness that has to permeate the film. I mean, it's not about, she doesn't want to lose her voice, and for a man, so bad. And then they had, okay, so this is a good point. Miss Magical points out they had a black Cinderella in the 90s, played by Brandy, and the godmother was Whitney Houston. It was iconic. So for that movie, the thing that's different about that movie, and I feel like Little Mermaid, is people feel like this is forced. Like they're forcing this. Like they have to force, we need to change the characters, we need to do the race swap, we need to do this, do that. Whereas with the Cinderella movie, it was just a reinterpretation. You know, it was like another film. It was artistically cohesive, not just, which is what's happening with a lot of these movies, is they're forcing it. They're just making, oh, let's make that character black. Oh, let's make that character this. Let's make it again. Like, it just doesn't even make any sense. Like, why? So that's where people are getting upset, because it doesn't seem very genuine. And we know that their agenda, they have the woke agenda. They have to have the diversity hired. They have to have this. So people are really rebelling against that in a lot of ways. Oh, Rotten Tomatoes has Little Mermaid 67% for critics, 95% for audience. Yeah, that's not sus at all. I'm sure it's totally, that's just how it is. It was good. I don't know. I don't mind race swapping as long as there's double standards. Like, white people should be able to play bad characters if they want. I know. So, you know, we saw with like the Lords of Egypt, I think that was the last one, where was the Lords of Egypt. It was this mythological Egyptian story, and they hired a lot of white actors, and they got a huge amount of backlash for that. And people were like, this is stupid, this is trash, it doesn't make sense. And that didn't go well. So I think that people are starting to pay attention. So they're starting to pay attention. They just want good stories. They don't want wokeness. And for a character like Ariel, like, I'm sorry. I just can't. I'm sorry. I know Halle Berry, she's very talented. I don't know her personally, but I'm sure she's very talented. All these things. Not my Ariel. Not my Ariel. I can't. It's such a good film. Oh, here we go. So that's the thing, yeah, about IMDb. Apparently, if you click on the audience, you have an option to see registered. So if you're valid, if you've been validated, if you have been approved of, you can definitely cast your vote. But I thought any type of voter ID was like racist. Okay. But okay, whatever. Oh my god, Miss Magical. The white version of Boys in the Hood would be funny as all. Oh yeah. Let's see how that happens. I mean, it's just the characters. It's just Inglewood is now gentrified or wherever. That would be super funny. Okay, Alexander says, I think people are tired of just swapping races on characters without any justification. It's so obvious. No, even people from poor countries are laughing at Hollywood. I know. It's like, again, it seems forced. That's the whole thing. It seems like it's a forced thing. Like, I totally agree. That's the problem. It's like nobody had a problem about Randy's Cinderella because it was well constructed, well put together, cohesive, story. But it just seems for a lot of these movies, they're swapping and people are getting sick of it. So yeah, maybe if this was the first time ever they swapped a character, Disney did, or we this is the first time we've seen this, but I mean, it's just like so many characters. They had the black what was it? The black Batgirl. Black Batgirl. That movie it was so bad. It was so bad they had to just can it. They had to shelve it. They couldn't even release it. It was so bad. Race swapping. So it's just people wanted to stop. Yeah, they made the black version again. So when it's well done and people really feel like it's justified and it makes sense, I don't think people are like up in arms. I think with this thing, it's just people are tired of it. Yeah, and the Oz was so good. Okay, well, the remakes are remakes of the adapted Disney stories, not the folk stories Disney originally took the story from, which makes them very diluted and shallow experiences. Yeah, I mean, was supposed to be for children. Fairy tales are really brutal. Fairy tales are really, really brutal. Like, I don't think. I honestly haven't seen any of them. Also, girls like to be kissed. Please confirm. Well, as long as there's consent. Hello. You have to make it into the song. You need to consent to kiss. I don't know what the song is. I need to look at it. Yeah, the overly wokeness is lame. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they had to adjust it, which is great. And this is obviously it's disgusting that we have to deal with this, that they need to be thought police. They need to make sure they adjust things. People can't just express themselves, and tell people how they feel. We need the thought police. Somebody needs to come in. So here's Vox. Vox is amazing. Amazing, by the way. Racist backlash to The Little Mermaid and The Lord of the Rings is exhausting and extremely predictable. Yeah, people don't want to see this. They don't. They don't want to see Aryan fairy tales turn into like this random stuff. Okay. So they talk about the Lord of the Rings and people don't really like it, which I don't really argue with because, like, what? Like, seriously? Like, what are we? Why are there like Asian elves now? Like, people are just like, what's going on? Tolkien was very specific, like, very specific. From a progressive standpoint, stories all could use a good shakeup. Like, obviously, we need to progress. Varying their points of views through casting and pop-up culture is full of narratives ripe for retelling. Taking the detractors at face value, however, you have a pantheon of geeks who just want to see their beloved tales left alone. Oh my God. The neo-Marxists are upset that we don't want culture and everything to be reimagined because they love to do that. These fans now face repeated battles as they watch one franchise after another fall into the clutches of progressive directors and writers who insist on casting women in the lead roles or casting actors of color in roles long reserved for white people. Oh my God, I can never in my entire life ever get past the people of color thing. It's so nauseating. It's so nauseating. It's like people of color, okay? Like, what does that even mean? It's so meaningless and stupid. Like, it's just the worst thing. Oh, here we go. Oh no, Matt Walsh is back again. The negative attention to The Little Mermaid and Lord of the Rings has fueled groundswell of support from other fans who view such anger as founded in racism. Oh my God, they're just racist. They didn't want you to destroy all their stories, so they're obviously racist. Complicating all these arguments are angry right-wing politicians and influencers like the Daily Wire's Matt Walsh, who are using both franchises as an example of Hollywood's liberal wokeness run amok. Oh my God, when will Matt Walsh stop? He's just ruining everything. We're trying to fix the world. Excuse me. I think it's so funny. Okay, here we go. On their face, the arguments over Lord of the Rings and The Little Mermaids are superficially absurd. The historical inaccuracy argument falls apart any way you look at it. Because isn't it like, wasn't there a thing that's going on TikTok where they say like white people don't have culture? So how can you have a storyline if you don't have culture? Here we go. Soren says, evil cannot create anything new. They can only corrupt and ruin good forces have invented or made. Yes. Oh, great quote. That's an awesome quote. I mean, it's true. When you have an entire ideology, an entire movement that's all about degrading and destroying things, like that's what leftism is. It's like a rot, a social rot. It can only destroy, it can only degrade, it can only decompose. When are they? I mean, they've been pushing this for all this time. It's really hard for them to create anything. All they can do is create like sort of cavities and infest. Okay. Alexander says every movie, even the regular movies these days, have some type of subtle or loud propaganda. And they just change the race, they change the characters to make them all strong, independent women, for example. I know. Oh my God. They're all strong, independent women. That is so true. I have a clip. I need to post it on my stories. Where they're just like all telling the Disney line and they're all like, we're strong, we're independent. I have to find that. Where did I see that? I think I saw it on TikTok. I saw it somewhere. But anyway, yeah, all the Disney princesses. Yeah, great quote. Layla yeah, Matt Walsh is great. Totally plug him. He's awesome. Matt Walsh's stuff is awesome. I am such a huge fan. They changed the original characters, how they were written, not just their race or identity. I know. That's the other thing, is they're not just changing the way the character looks per se and giving it like a different aesthetic. They're changing the character fundamentally. They're changing the color, the character's priorities, the way they view reality, everything about it. It's not just a simple thing. That's so true. That's so true. Okay, so we have to note, okay, obviously there's no historical inaccuracy. These things are all fictional. They're all fictional. Like, yeah, I'm sure the Danish guy, Hans Christian Andersen, he was picturing a Latina when he, made The Little Mermaid. For Hans Christian Andersen's short story, The Little Mermaid, it was originally a sublimated article. What? Oh, yeah. Allegory for the closeted queer man in its original setting was far out in the ocean. Seeking historical accuracy from the type of fairy tale seems like gasping at best. But to further put to rest the argument that such characters have to be white, consider that the first Disney version made Ariel home a fictional amalgam of Greek and Mediterranean mythology somewhere in the middle of the North Atlantic Sea. So the idea of strictly Caucasian mermaids from the vicinity is oh my God. First of all, now he's also queer. What? When did he become queer? Okay. Sure. Okay, Vox. We're all queer now. So yeah, this is just Vox going in on how everything is just, you need to just do it. You need to just support it. And like, there's no woke ideological agenda. Like, come on, please stop. A key cry among these kinds of fans is that such productions are insisting on what they dubbed forced diversity. Detractors claim that the goal isn't really to meaningfully inject realistic representation into the universe, but rather to advance a woke ideological agenda. This argument has been particularly loud among right-wing politicians and conservative influencers. The idea for such fans would be something they tend to describe as organic diversity, something that would arise naturally from the descriptions of characters. For instance, one Tolkien scholar complained to CNN that since Tolkien described elves as fair-faced, anything too tawny would ruin the authenticity of the show. Like, I don't think he was thinking that they look like they're from the Congo. This is something organic. This is coming up from Middle Earth. Tolkien experts say this is not an agenda. Okay. Framing the mere existence of non-white characters in media as an inherently political stance is itself an ideological agenda. Oh my God. Moreover, it contradicts the long legacy of fantasy adaptations deviating from the descriptions of characters and fans usually not minding as long as casting still reinforces the white, male-centric worldview. So you guys, white guys, stop. Just stop. Just stop. I quit trying to reason with people on the net. Most of these trolls are agents of the corporate world and entertainment industry, stealing the public authentic ideas. Yeah, totally. It's pointless a lot of the time. They're just bots. Mermaids were first written in the Iliad. Mermaids were first written in the Iliad. What, how, whoever wrote that is uneducated, unrefined, and shallow person. Journalist, yeah. No, mermaids are black. Everybody's everything has to be black. Yeah, so they're saying that it's just cheapening the aesthetic. And obviously it is. Like, I don't know why they're doing it. Oh my God, here we go. However, these arguments often drown out the voices of fans of color who are overjoyed. Overjoyed. This is bliss everywhere. Overjoyed when they see themselves reflected in the legacy media they love. It's just so ridiculous. Why don't you make your own story? Anyway. Okay. Like parents who celebrated the new Little Mermaid trailer by sharing photos and videos of their black daughters reacting ecstatically because they can see themselves. That's so perfect. And who doesn't love that Tinkerbell is now going to be black too? Because she's so black. I mean, she's so black. What's more, when high-powered studios like Disney to take touch chances on original work, it's just wonderful, tremendous. Oh my God. All of this suggests that arguments for less diversity are just as shallow and political, just as racist and sexist as they sound. Journalist and period drama expert Amanda Ray Prescott learned this lesson when she began tracking the fandom for the cult PBS series Sanditon? I've never heard of it. Oh, it's an adaptation of Jane Austen. Let them make the Jane Austen characters black. Like, just go ahead and do it. Like, that makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. Because melanin quotient directly affects imagination tone dropping was I know. Because I can't. So there's a really good question. I think who posted? I think Miss Magical posted and Simple posted this question. Where is it? So what do you think the end goal for these woke agendas, control, submission, perversion, what do they want? So first of all, they have to destroy any sort of consistency or continuity in the culture because they're reimagining everything. Okay. They need to break it all up. They can't have a shared experience. They can't have a shared narrative. It has to be this multicultural melting pot. Everybody's just melt because they need, just like the open borders policy, and the mass migration, all those things. That's because it removes a sense of community It removes a sense of continuity, and it doesn't allow any remaking. And as Soren said, these people, they can't really make anything original or new. They have to just plagiarize and destroy existing things. So it's just a perversion. It's just to make the people feel more empowered, because unfortunately these people really are believing that somehow they can only feel good and validated if they see themselves on the screen playing the previously white characters. If they can be like the white people, then the people of color feel more empowered. Because again, a lot of this leftist ideology, unfortunately, and I don't think many people talk about it, everything about their narrative reinforces ultimately white supremacy, because they really believe that they are perpetual victims. People of color are perpetual victims. People of other different groups are perpetual victims, and they will always be victims of white supremacy. There's nothing you can do. It's like as if they really believe that white people are superior. I don't know why. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is definitely Nordic. I think Hallie is good for black girls to look up to. I think that's positive. But Chloe, is being overly sexualized. Oh yeah, I saw that story. Yeah, so that is what the end goal is. They have to destroy everything. They have to create the chaos. They have to create the division. They can't have people come together. They can't have history. Because if you have history, okay, if you have history, then you have something to cling to, then you have some consistency, some stability. They need to rip it all up. Just rip it all up. And they do it through the media and the culture and their woke agenda. So they push it through. So it's annoying. I haven't seen the movie personally. I will eventually see the movie, but it's just sad to see, because it's like, why do we have to change it? Like, why do we have to reimagine it? Why does it have to be woke? Because the movie is so good. It's so good. It's so good. It's such a good Little Mermaid's such a good story. It's just annoying. It's just so annoying. Oh, we have to live through the woke mind virus that is the ridiculousness. It's just so stupid. So, yeah. So those are the two top stories, but then I wanted to go over some stuff that I found on the internet that I think is pretty hilarious, because I'm just constantly being bombarded with crazy stuff. It's like, what's going on? It's like, what is going on? Like, why are you guys doing this to me? Like, I don't get it. I genuinely do not get it. So, where is this clip? Put on my downloads. History equals wisdom, no future. Exactly. So well said. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. People are going to continue to be creative. I don't think we want people to just stop being creative, stop thinking of things. I would feel so much better if people were thinking of things that were actually interesting. And a new perspective, like a new story. Like, why can't, if we wanted a black mermaid, why don't we just have like a black mermaid? I don't get it. Like, just have a black mermaid, but a different one, not Ariel. Okay, here's the Narcissistic Psychopaths. Oh my god, this article. Jeez. Yeah, that's the next thing I wanted to bring up. I thought this was really pretty scary. Did not see that one coming. I did not see that one coming. That apparently most people who are leftists are narcissistic psychopaths. Really? Really? Did you guys see that coming? Did you? I don't think you did. Where did the article go? One second, let me pull it up. Sorry. I need to get better at this. Where I get all all of the media organized because I have to share it with screen shares. Where's the new screenshot? Oh, here we go. Okay. So this left-wing extremism linked to psychopathy and narcissism. Who knew? I would have never guessed this. Like how? How, Sway? How? I mean, did anyone see this coming? Did anyone see this coming? I mean, I never could have seen this coming. But yeah, so this is a pretty interesting finding, and it's funny they're actually publishing this. I mean, so many of us already obviously realize this, but I guess they're ready to acknowledge it themselves. Somehow they're gonna like organize it and shift the story and make it work for them. I don't know. Left-wing extremism is linked to toxic psychopathic tendencies and narcissism, according to a new study published in a peer-reviewed journal, Current Psychology. Based on existing research, we expected individuals with higher levels of left-wing authoritarianism to also report higher levels of narcissism. As results of the new data studies, Arthur Ann Crispins and Alex Betrams have coined a new term for such psychological behavior, the dark ego vehicle principle. Interesting. So, new thing, new title. New title. Dark ego. Dark ego. Nice. According to the principle, individuals with dark personalities, such as high narcissistic and psychopathic traits, are attracted to certain forms of political and social activism, which they can use as a vehicle to satisfy their own ego focused needs instead of actually aiming at social justice and equality. Wow. Never could have predicted that. Like, it's so obvious. It's just so obvious. God, does it have to make it so big? I mean, look at how they behave and act. It just doesn't seem genuine. In particular, certain forms of activism might provide them with opportunities for positive self-presentation and displays of moral superiority to gain social status, to dominate others, and to engage in social conflicts and aggression to satisfy their need for thrill-seeking. Like, hello, it's been obvious for a very long time this is what's happening. Like, how many people marched for BLM that are just random white people from the suburbs? It's like random white kids. It's like, what are you guys doing? You guys are psychopaths. So, of course, the moral superiority is very, very important. They use this as a way to say that they're superior, they're anti-racist, they're just better than you. Look at all the celebrities and all the stupid stuff that they put out over the last couple of years and how they virtue signal and show that they're so much better and so much greater. And all these people, they do this constantly. I mean, it's so disgusting to see how they utilize people's problems. This is neo-communism. This is Marxism. This is their tactics, constantly leftist tactics. They use this every time. They take some issue, they take something, they wrap their cause, their solution in the issue and pretend and parade around as if they're really fighting for the little guy. They're really trying to fix things for people, when inevitably they always mess it up. They always make it worse. They always make things degrade. You know, that's why they always end up with a famine, okay? And that's just what they do because they just want control. Everything is about control for them. An individual high in LWA, what did the LWA stand for again? It was dark something. Dark ego principle. Okay, well, I think it's related to the dark ego principle. But essentially, An individual high in LWA, might declare anyone to be old-fashioned who opposes their own progressive values. Strive to suppress free speech, to regulate expression of right-wing beliefs in educational institutes, and even endorse the use of violence to reach their own political goals. Does that sound like anybody to you? Does that sound like familiar? Am I the only one? Am I the only one who feels like that's like blindingly obvious? Beyond using any means necessary, people of privileged backgrounds who are aligned with LWA often use their narcissism to make activism solely about themselves instead of achieving social equality for struggling groups. Duh. They're going to gain control, then they get rid of the whatever people, they discard them. Minority groups should be made aware of the narcissistic enemies from within their activist movements, as these individuals could hijack the cause, thereby reducing the success of activism in many ways. I mean, they said it, not us. Like, this is just what it is. Thanks, you guys, for all liking the video. I really appreciate it. It's just like, yes, these people are insane. They're crazy. Leftists, they have to destroy everything. Like, that's what they do. That's what they do. That's their goal. Everything has to be destroyed. Everything has to turn to crap. Everything has to be just like rotten, completely made rotten, so that they can run around virtue signaling, telling everybody how much better they are. I mean, because they're just so good. They're just helping humanity. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you? The 9 most terrifying words in the English language. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Yes, John. Yes. But they're here to help. They're here to help. What is this? I had to screenshot that. That's important to know and be aware of. What is which quote, Miss Magical? But yeah, it's disturbing. It's disturbing on so many levels, and it's the honest truth. Ooh. Meghan and Harry, classic example of narcissistic celebrity people who really just want to make profit but pretend to be really progressive about like AOC. Yeah, no, 100%. These people are parading around their virtue. They're so great. They're so above. They're just trying to help everyone. They're so selfish. I always ask, I mean, like, when did it become cool? Like, why are you so obsessed with helping people? Like, why are you so obsessed with it? And the things they're obsessed with helping with ultimately usually have no value. They have no value. I was watching in another live, we went over a TikTok video where they were explaining all of the things that they were advocating for and pushing for. Let me see if I can bring it up. And it's just like, why? Like, why are you obsessed with these things? Like, what are you doing? Like, how is this pushing? How is this improving anything? Oh, it's this video here.
It's fucked. What are we gonna do? This is what we're gonna do. First, we need to understand that we are all fighting the same enemy, and that is power and resource hoarding. The current form that enemy is taking is capitalism, entangled with white supremacy and colonialism. These are really big structures, but the advantage that we have is they are all part of the same thing, and by fighting one part of them, we are fighting the whole thing. So, the final boss is capitalism, but you get to choose the battleground that you fight on. You don't have to destroy.
So where are the battlegrounds? She's on TikTok, just training everybody, just training all
examples.
So look at the list that she says. These are the battlegrounds. These are the important issues. These are the things that are going to make and break society. It's not about the economy. It's not about the infrastructure. It's not about health and all these things. It's not about anything relevant or tangible. It's about, drug legalization, union organizing, climate crisis, police and prison abolition, liberation for transformers, sex worker discrimination. Like, it was just what? Decommodifying housing, border abolition, alt-right de-radicalization. Oh, so make all of you guys watching this stop being so radical, because you guys are super radical. And military defunding. So it's like, they're not based in reality. Nothing that they do is based in anything meaningful in reality. They're just all about talking about how much better they are. Yeah, no, you make a good point. We should all be fighting for affordable housing and living wages, no matter if you're left or right. No, exactly. But the way they go about it is they want the government to force people to make a correction. They want to force it. They want to make it so that housing can be profitable. They don't want landlords. You're not allowed, they want ultimately, it's not about that good virtue. And that's why it's so distracting, because it's like, yes, obviously people want everyone to have housing. We want that natural balance. Like, of course, we need that. We need living wages. We need people to thrive and prosper. But the way they say, oh, we're going to thrive and prosper through the removal of private property. We're just going to get rid of private property altogether. That's how we'll fix the problem. And it's like, no, I don't think that's the solution. I think there's better solutions out there. Like, we can still have private property without this like fake price gouging or whatever. So that's the issue, and that's what makes it so difficult to argue against, the whole woke narrative, because it's like, yeah, that does make sense. I do want people to have fair housing. Yeah, you're not against capitalism. That's good. Okay, so here's another one that I think just really
I promise you, I went to this mall on a weekday in the early afternoon. It was about 12:30. Every store was closed except for a pizza place and Target. Target doesn't even count. Oh wait, the movie theater as well. Y'all, this is late stage capitalism. This is late stage capitalism.
I mean, this woman is literally gleeful and happy and excited to see the economy suffer, to see the mall closing down. Yeah. It's just, when they say they're useful idiots, like, that term is just so perfect. It's so perfect. They never can change it, because it's like, why would you ever advocate for something like that? Why would you advocate for business to drop, for the economy to be fragile, for people to not have money to buy, for people to not be able to have stores, all of these things? It's ridiculous.
Before we know it, we're not going to have malls anymore. There's not going to be anyone left to work in these malls. No one wants to work for 9-10 hours a day, making $11 an hour, $12 an hour, $13 an hour. No, not even for $15 an hour, not even for $16 an hour. The people need more. Fuck this. Goodbye, malls.
Oh, she's so happy. She's so happy to say goodbye to malls. How great. Just disgusting. These people are ridiculous. It's so annoying to see. And this is what they want to do. This is what they want. This is what we have to have. We have to have this because everything is white supremacy, working hard. Everything needs to be destroyed and reimagined. We need to take away history. We need to rewrite things. We need to just do all of that, because obviously that's the only way to fix it, right? No, not really. Not necessarily. Not at all, actually. You can actually fix problems. The Marxists they have a way with words, and they know how to articulate things. And unfortunately, conservatives don't know how to do that. They don't have the same skills. Like, I was looking at a page, just searching on Instagram to see what some of the, hashtags, what they were pushing. And I was looking at queer, let's see, here it is. Like queer Marxists. Yeah, queer Marxism. Look at this. Look how colorful. Look how nice and fun and engaging. Look how good that is. I mean, they really invest in the graphic design. They know how to sell their stuff. Like I can't fault them there. That's why they're so successful and they appeal to younger people so much because I mean, they know how to put it together. And these are the things that are important, but unfortunately, it's not something focused on with the more conservative people. Ooh. I think the left and the right need to find something they agree on and focus on that, but the globalists got a chokehold on the left and make almost impossible because of the moving goalposts. Yeah, I mean, that would be great, but leftism doesn't really allow that. And a lot of conservatives don't really like that either. They just want to be right. I see so many hiring signs in my city. Well, people don't want to work, okay? People don't want to work, so stop. Just get rid of those signs. These people think it's all the people stop working in shops, everything's going to be okay. They don't realize that it would be Mad Max dystopia if happened where the strongest survive. Yeah, no. Again, these people completely lack foresight. They do not see what the consequences of their actions will be. That's why the propaganda works so well on them. They just can't recognize it. So it's just like, it's frustrating. Like, it's endlessly frustrating because it's like, obviously, it's not going to end well if you don't have an economy. Somebody like that woman in the video where she was cheering on the destruction and the collapse of, she's cheering on late stage capitalism. What value would she actually bring to society? Could she build anything? Can she do anything? Can she contribute anything that's like tangible? Or does she write papers and complain about systematic oppression? So do you think this is because people are entitled and a part of the reimagining? Yeah, no, it's because they don't have foresight. They can't anticipate. They're not thinking things through. That's why they're called useful idiots. They're idiots. Why would you sign up for a system that's going to collapse your society? That doesn't make any sense. You're going to go completely opposite direction. Somehow things are just going to work out magically? No. It's disconcerting to think someone would actually be wanting theirs and ours own demise. Had to imagine someone could think, it's hard to imagine someone could think that way. I know, but that's the thing. They're not thinking. They're literally not thinking. That's the point. They're not thinking. They're not thinking, oh, what's going to happen if I don't have a job? What's going to happen? Their ideology, the propaganda they see, the storylines and all the literature and the think tanks and all the, fun logic and their classes and everything, all of the indoctrination they go through doesn't really translate over. Okay, now it's collapsed. Now what? They just suddenly think that somehow they're all going to be able to be fine surviving as SoundCloud artists. They're going to be, suddenly fine just doing their little meditation retreats and whatever. Somehow everything's going to be a utopia. That's what they're sold. So, and they're not thinking about it. And also, let's point out, these are people who are not the most successful, generally. The useful idiots are not the most successful people. They're not. So they don't make good decisions. They don't make good decisions with their lives. So they see themselves as victims. They want an out. And naturally, this fantasy seems to make sense to them. Yeah, Poco Geezer. She thinks that she's one of the people who won't see a negative impact. Oh my God. Too educated does not seem to teach critical thinking anymore. Hard for the indoctrinated to see other point of view. Exactly. That's because, again, they are the indoctrinated. These people are indoctrinated to an ideology. They're not thinking. They're not critically thinking. They're absorbing and repeating. Now, this is something I was talking to my friend about the other day. People who are smart in this society, a lot of them do not have critical thinking skills. They are good at memorizing things. You know, they're good at memorizing things. So if they're good at memorizing things, they're just good at repeating. They're not actually analyzing it. They're not building and constructing and deconstructing. They're just repeating. They're just input, output, input, output, input, output. And it's disgusting to see. I think I want to play one last clip that I thought was really interesting. I don't know. I don't know when this is from, but I just saw it recently. I think it might get me flagged. Slaves are useful zombies.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself
Cis men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself
cis men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body menstruated at
If
some
your
point
chromosomes
then.
are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not men.
excluding a whole group of people
They're
here
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example
science.
when we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. You're just making it up.
Oh my God.
Men do not menstruate. Only women
So
menstruate.
good. I mean,
now, you
that's
can
the
call
attitude.
yourself
Cis men
whatever you
don't
want.
menstruate,
You can't
but
get
trans
emotional.
men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body
if you are,
menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes
then.
are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not men.
excluding a whole group of people
They're
here
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example
science.
when we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual
They're completely
reproductive organs.
different. They're completely different words. Like you said some different words, okay? And this is the realm they exist in. They manipulate language to manipulate perception. It's just no.
Things you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion. Well,
Completely
I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion.
That's what they do. They just give a conclusion. They just say a bunch of things. They alliterate a lot of things, and then that's it. That's what's right. No more than 5 years ago, this would have been taken as a joke. Now it's an episode of Daily Horror Show. I know. Oh, Miss Magical pointed out I'm critical of the left and right. Yeah, I mean that's what you have to do because both definitely can be authoritarian, as Sean pointed out. Because that's just how it is. But we have to be in the realm of reality, and yeah, you're just giving a conclusion.
And you're just making it up.
You're just making it up. I mean, it's like, and that's literally what they're doing. I mean, that's what they're doing. Like, I don't see what the problem with stating that is. Because it's just, that's what they're doing. They just take it from creating an ideology, then they need to force it, and then they need to, push their agenda all the way up. So, yeah, it's a lot. Oh no, did he just inject logic into their words? Yeah, exactly. He definitely did. I love that clip. So good. I don't think it's from this week. I think it's from like a Dr. Phil episode that's like a couple weeks back or a couple months back potentially. But just it's so funny. Just like that's how you have to be. Tolerating the illy possessed. Yeah, that's how you have to be. You have to be calm. You have to recognize for some of these people, this is a legitimate mental illness that they suffer from. And just, you can't be like, oh my God. And honestly, a lot of it is just a distraction. Majority of it is a distraction. It's not really to fix anything. It's to distract us from literally the Great Reset. So, I mean, honestly, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Oh my God. Did you guys hear the mayor of Chicago is now going to be teaching at Harvard? Like, I saw this today. Reality is dependent on our acceptance nor understanding of it. Not our understanding of it. Yeah, exactly. They just shift our perception. Oh, fuck. Why does it always do this? This is so annoying. I hate that it always does this. Here. Oh, it just has to make things difficult for me. Okay, no, I don't want it to be that big. It's not even letting me make it smaller. Okay, but basically, God. Basically, it's just an article talking about how the Chicago mayor is now going to be teaching at Harvard. Yeah, because I'm sure she's not going to be pushing any sort of leftist ideology. I'm sure she's not going to do that. It's so sad. It's so sad. Yeah, they make up terms. They build stories. They get professors and different people to support this and push it through the schools. They indoctrinate people. They use their authority and their prestige. Oh, it's Ivy League. It's this, it's that. To transfer that authority and transfer that validity to whatever it is they make up. And then suddenly now we have to believe that you can't define what a woman is. Like, that's just okay. I say this while eating chips. I know. Yeah. We still get distracted on different topics. But, yeah, this is social media, we just see it all the time. And it's just interesting to see and like get a reality check. Like, we really are seeing this shared insanity together. Because that's the thing. It's like you look at it and you're just like, is this really happening? Is this for real? Are they really pushing these things? Yeah. And so that's the part that I like. I like pointing it out. What is a woman? Yes. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say any hate speech and get banned. Because, you get banned. You get banned. We needed, Playboy Crew says, we needed to release stress. I know. It's funny to just be like, this is the clown show that we have to look at. There was something, I forgot what I was listening to or looking up, and I'm going to try to find it again, talking about how this degrades and decays into this, like, oh, I remember, it's Jordan Peterson. I was listening to Jordan Peterson lecture. He was talking about the insane clown world, basically, that we go into when we enter these authoritarian regimes, like just insane clown reality, like just like evil clown, like insane evil clown reality, because it's so extreme, it's so over the top, it doesn't make any sense, and you're just like, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on? Why do we have to deal with this? Just no. So yeah. It's just so sad. And then you have people like this.
My preferred pronouns. What do you think my preferred pronouns are?
What do you mean? What does that even mean?
Use your brain.
You're a woman.
Incorrect.
Okay, I'm gonna educate you. If you were biologically born with women parts, you're a woman.
I'm being educated about my gender identity.
You don't. So gender identity is a lie. It's fake. There's only two genders: a man and a woman. And you know. Let me ask you a question.
I'm so surprised right
How many gender identities are there in nature? How many genders are in a lion?
Oh my goodness.
No, because look, if it's natural, it should be in nature. So let me ask you a question. How many genders do a lion have?
One sec.
How many genders do a monkey have? How many genders do a zebra have? How come human beings, if this was true and it's natural, how come human beings are the only one with gender fluidity? Because it's not true. Do horses have multiple genders? No.
He just destroyed her whole world.
The hair alone tells you everything you need to know.
I mean, it's true. You can pretty much, you can just see, like, you can see from off the top, like, what's going on. So it's just, yeah. Ooh, beware of what you want to believe. We are easily convinced of it. That's a great point, John. I mean, that's pretty, yeah. Because once we have a bias towards something, we're going to start seeing it all the time. Like if we have a bias toward a certain type of car, you know, or we want to buy that car. So suddenly we see it everywhere. Like our perception picks it up. Like our brain, honestly, a lot of people don't know this, that our brains really spend a lot of their time filtering things out and figuring out what's important, what's not important. So there's a lot that we miss that our brain just says, no, that's not an issue. And we can sort of pick and choose and guide, or, you know, the media, the propaganda can pick and choose and guide what we perceive, what we don't perceive. So all of a sudden, everything's a microaggression. Everything's, oh, this is obviously a telltale sign of systematic oppression. Oh, so sad. It's just disgusting. I can't stand it. Oh my God. I just can't stand it. Especially the thing that really, really, really enrages me is when they try to justify all of the crime that happens. Next live, or not the next live, I think. Yeah, tomorrow's Saturday. I might go live tomorrow. But I have some clips of this guy that I want to show you guys about, where he's just justifying all of the crime that's happening in like Oakland, California. You know, San Francisco and Oakland are just really bad. Just like really bad. Really bad. Okay. So yeah, this has been a really great conversation. It's been a really good conversation. I feel like we covered a lot of topics, so I appreciate everybody joining. But I do want to show you guys this last clip of this Cunny Law person. You mean fiery but mostly peaceful protest? Exactly. Yeah, it's mostly peaceful, so what's the problem? But I want to show you this clip. This person is now. I don't want to get into this Ted Cruz clip that I found. I'm going to make a video on it also. I'm publishing a video. I already filmed it. But Ted Cruz was talking about how all of these like new federal judges appointed by Biden are just radical leftists, like insane, rabid leftists, rabid. And during their testimony, when they're, you know, going through their nomination and everything, one of the judges didn't even know what certain articles of the Constitution were. They didn't even know. They couldn't even explain that. So just beyond leftist, like 100%, like full throttle neo-communists. But yeah, so all of these cultural impacts are really hitting us.
To be law
It's
in the
not
service
just
of human needs. One of very few legal institutions.
It's not just, oh, they're making silly movies or they're doing some things or whatever. This has an impact, and it permeates their life, and it ultimately will change policies and will change laws. But then this woman, she's graduating. She's from Yemen. She's graduating in America. You know, she got to come to America and get an education and improve her life. But, you know, still racism, obviously, she has to suffer from. But, yeah. And she makes a statement she does a whole speech.
To be law in the service of human needs. One of very few institutions created to recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world. To recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world.
She's going to be a lawyer, and she believes that the law is white supremacy. Think about that. How much is that going to affect people? How much is that going to affect people? You're literally talking about changing laws, manipulating things. It's disgusting. I keep saying that, but whenever I think of the left, it's just so bad. But yeah. So this was a week in propaganda. Next week, I think I'll just do the show every Friday. So definitely subscribe and get the notifications and all the good stuff. You can follow me on Instagram and definitely check me out on Locals. I also have channel memberships. Yes, you can join and be a member of the crew, talk about things, discuss things, support the channel, plan out content, all the great things. Lots coming up. So you can get on that. But just, we have to break this stuff down because it's like we have to build better narratives. We have to combat this somehow because it's disgusting. It's sad because these people are going to impact our daily lives. They're going to be the ones in judge positions and lawyers and attorneys, whatever, that are saying that we don't have rights and equality, and I'm like potentially white supremacist because, white supremacy is now multicultural, and all these ideas about the Constitution and freedom and things like that. Oh, whatever. Yes, I have a Twitter too, so you can definitely follow me all on there. I have all the links in my channel info. But anyway, yeah, so that is the week. Oh, Poke Go Geezer said, if it's white supremacy, why stay here? Obviously, because it's better. Even if it's like this horrible, evil demon lurking about every corner, it's still better. So, I don't see her going to Yemen. But anyway, yeah. These people are ridiculous. Okay, so I will talk to you guys soon. I'm going to be doing more warning on the lives, but definitely I'm going to be planning to do lives Thursday through Sunday. Think that would be good. And Friday nights, reserve it to This Week in Propaganda. So, you guys, thank you so much for the discussion. I hope you learned something, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Good night.